Welcome to the daily review from KASM Capital, the US market, euro versus the US dollar, the movement to Bitcoin as well as trend in oil and gold, as given by the founder and director, Dr. Mann.
Good morning. How's everybody? We are back for another week of trading news and forecasts. It's been a tough week, this last one, which ended with the non farm payrolls report, which met markets' expectations of a high unemployment number, and that in turn seems to have sealed the fate for a rate cut at the end of this month. However, the markets were jolted by the horribly low job numbers, which indicated that the labor market is not just softening, it's actually cracking, which is worrying as far as the economy is concerned. So it was a typical bad news is good news scenario for the markets. The markets did rise initially, but then they dived, losing up to 1% of their value. However, they seem to be pairing their losses ever since they reopened last night. The Dow and the S&P 500, as well as the Nasdaq, have had modest gains overnight and seem to be having an upward trend. Oil did dive initially when the OPEC countries agreed on increasing the oil production. However, they have capped it at 137,000 barrels per day, which was encouraging for the price of oil, and oil has picked up since then. Gold has been climbing since last night. Not very much, but it has shown an upward trend. Bitcoin again, it had dropped to 108,000, which was the support level when the markets opened last night, but is now heading back up. Um, and the euro against the US dollar, the euro is showing signs of weakness because of political instability in France. Hence, the US dollar is gaining strength and is on up the upward momentum. So, therefore, that's the story on the markets. Not much happening today and not much happening this week until Thursday, when the big news, the CPI data for last month, is going to come out, which is going to be indicative of the inflation expectations from last month. If those expectations are exceeded, that is going to be making the markets very nervous, because the ghost of stagflation shall rise again, and that does spook the markets. So expect lot of volatility there. However, if the inflation number comes in line with expectations, then that will be encouraging for the markets, because that will again head the markets towards a rate cut at the end of this month. So lots happening this week. The CPI data is going to be a major market mover event. Watch out for that. My prediction for that is that the number is going to be in line with expectations, either in line or better, which is going to be encouraging for the markets, and the markets will rally as a result. So, time to go long on the markets, and the markets rally. The US dollar and gold, they tend to show some volatility. So, I think they would not rise any further. Bitcoin, I think, will continue its upward trend, and so will oil. That is my prediction for this week. We'll keep you posted on a daily basis, and watch out for more.